I went for a drink and then someone was sat on my seat and I went, "You're on my seat," like this, like quite face stern,
Yeah.
you know. And then it's like, "You're on my seat," and this person's like, "Oh, sorry, but you know, don't need to be rude about it." I was just like, "No, I was just stating the fact. You're on my
Yeah.
seat.
Yeah.
Can you get up, please?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Whereas other
Because
people wouldn't do that.
asking them to do something,
Yeah.
and you know, that was it. It was
It's my logic, you know, and people were like rude, and I always felt quite like, oh gosh, I'm being rude, but I didn't mean to be rude. I was just asking them to move because I was there first.
That's part of the sort of Aspie bluntness. You know, you can be inappropriate because you're not used. You know, the social norms, the niceties are another language to learn. It's a language you've got to learn to actually use it. Whereas it comes as second nature to people that are wired that way. But to people with autism whose brains don't go to that place, that's not their natural place to start from.
No,
you know,
because it's not logical.
Yeah.
You know, you've got set processes for doing things.
Yeah.
And your brain does not think, I've got to be polite or pleasant beforehand, because that's not logical. That's not the point that you want to get to, is it?
And
I've set my email templates up.
Of course. It was
especially
like
email templates up. So
especially like, you know, someone that I don't have to be nice to. I don't know that person. As in like never seen that person ever in my life. Never interacted with that person, never ever. So my brain's like, that person don't matter. So it was like, sat on my seat, can you get up, please?
Yeah.
I mean, my sister and I, we always joke that we suffer from resting bitch face.
That's another one.
We do. It's just the normal way that my face looks. I mean, it's been great wearing a mask because people think I'm approachable now, but without the mask on, they don't come near me.
That's one of the things I've been accused of in the past as well. Like, well, how do you want me to look? Like, are you
exactly, it's my face. I can't change it, but it's another box, isn't it, that people put you in?
Yeah.
It's lack of understanding, lack of wanting to know about it, which is why I think things like, you know, the podcast you're doing and the information, I think it's so important because people feel that they can talk about things now. You know, there's so much more information out there now that people do need to sit down and talk about and think about and
understand.
Yeah.
And understand that you know, we're not being rude. It's just that, you know, our social skills is not as fine tuned as other people's. But you know, the things that people want from me, my technical knowledge, my interpretation and application of insurance policy wording, you know, they're prepared to overlook that a bit because, you know, I've got other things I'm bringing to the table. So, you know, it's not my job to win friends and influence people. It's my job to tell them how their policy works.
Yeah,
there you go. If it works for you, then that's it.
That's it. Yeah,
touch wood, luckily, yes,
job,
it does.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's knowing what's the best use of my skills. You know, I'm not going to be the person that stands at the front of the Disney shop saying, "Hello, come inside." That's, you know, I'd run a million miles from that. Yes. But if they, you know, that's not going to be me. But reading manuals and things, and that's it. And that's my thing. It's fitting. If you're fitting in with the world, so that you're not constantly fighting the world. I think I've managed to find my niche and where I fit in. And, you know, I've talked to other people who've got autistic children. I was chatting to somebody the other day saying her 21-year-old son she feels he's on the spectrum, but he's fighting it. And he wants to do things that he's not intuitively or naturally,
Mm-hmm.
necessarily fitted or won't necessarily fit into.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to fight that. Maybe he will learn a way of handling of getting that sort of thing across. But there are times when, yes, there are limitations, and it gets too tiring to keep fighting.
It does.
Yeah.
It really, really does. And it's like for me, dealing with anxiety and depression and that sort of thing, because those things are also in line with autism, and that can happen. And it's just like, I always thought it was just me, especially younger. I was just the weird one, I'm just the weird one, and I always fitted in with the people that didn't fit in. Like the misfits, just a group of misfits, and it happened to be the rock and metal community. Happened to be these people that, like me, growing up, always felt like they didn't fit in, and found the love for music and going to festivals and stuff like that. And it's so nice to finally get to a point, especially now in my, I was going to say career, but yes, actually career, because it's something that I'm building for myself, to get to a point of being part of it, like in there, and actually doing something, which is not just mental health, because yes, mental health, illness and that stuff, it is a big part of my life, but so is autism. And autism has got a massive spectrum, and it's all ages, and I want to speak more about this, because yes, it is widely, there's a lot of information out there now as opposed to 30 years ago. A lot of information now, and people are more understanding. But I think, like it was with me when, me and Scott were dating and he was working at that school, yes, I understood, but I didn't really understand. And conversations like this, like, with myself and you guys, that need to happen more often, to get different points of view, and to get the word out there that it's okay,
This is it. It's the, I hate the word acceptance, but that's almost like what you're looking for. And there shouldn't be that issue of getting people to accept you the way you are. It should just be.
It's just understanding the differences and why those differences exist. They've got a certain way of thinking because that's the way their brains are wired. My wiring is slightly differently. I mean, the meme that I always go back to is about, it says, why, in a world where people tell lies, mislead you, why is that the norm? Whereas, and the simple answer is because there's more of them. There's more neurotypical people than there are autistic people. So it's a case of yes, it's their world because there's more of them, but it's understanding their world as an autistic person, but also them understanding that my issues and why I don't quite fit in, but that I still have things to offer that that they're not necessarily that interested in. So it's working together. It's whatever floats your boat, as long as it doesn't sink mine.
I like that. I might use that in the future. And do you think? Sorry, go on.
So I was just going to say there is a thing. I'm can be quite repetitive in things that I say. So they play Kevin Bingo of phrases, and Roz has heard that one so many times that there's almost like should almost be like a Kevin jar that I have to put a pound coin in every time I say something repetitive like that. So, yeah.
But again, that's part of your process, isn't it? It's it's how you work.
Yeah.
Sorry, just how you're wired.
Yeah, that's it. It is.
Yeah.
With me, I forget things like quite a lot. I'm very forgetful. And sometimes I have to repeat things just to make sense, because I want to feel like I know what I'm talking about, because I could be saying lots and lots of different things, but sometimes not all of it makes sense.
No,
it's just the way my brain works. But what do you think that if there's anything that needs to be done more to raise awareness of autism? Is there any more that can be done?
I think there needs to be, positive portrayals in film and television. I mean, you say you're autistic, and they ultimately go, "Oh, Rain Man," that's an extreme. That would be somebody on the spectrum who is. I'm ASC1, which is high functioning, but ASC2 is somebody who needs more help, and ASC3 is the non-verbal, needs the most help.
Like my son,
like your son. So, I think they need to understand that it is a spectrum, that we're not all the same. We're not all going to be able to count the toothpicks on the floor, that, some of us are happy with loud music and heavy metal, and other people don't like loud noises, or somebody else can deal with bright lights and I can't. I can ride a bike, but somebody else will have balance issues. It is a spectrum. It's not linear. There are different bits that make up each person. In the same way, there's different bits that make up neurotypical people. There are neurotypical people who are shy, or who are good with their hands, or good with the mental arithmetic and that sort of thing. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're on the spectrum. So it's a case of understand, better portrayal of people like us, sharing the knowledge. I mean, me sort of, when I chat to people, I say I'm autistic, and so the reaction can be a bit like, "Oh, you're a bit weird," but I said, "No, it's just certain things that are obvious, like the shorts," But that's just the the way I am. When I chat to them about if it's in a queue for at a gig, chat to them about the band, and that I'm a fan the same as they are, and we're all gonna leap up and down and enjoy ourselves, hopefully again one day. And we are all part of the same thing. We are all in it together, and
I think schools and education could play a big part in bringing the awareness to the future generations. Start it off from middle school. Why not talk about it? I think that's going to be the most productive thing you can do, is talk about things, share the information. And why not start with the kids? Because that seems to be where most of this is being generated, because kids are being diagnosed younger. They are not ashamed to say, this is what I do. This is why I do it. I think it would help a lot more if it was part of the education system. I really, really do.
Yeah, that song goes, "Children are the future."
Yeah.
And it is right, isn't it? They are. And I think for myself growing up as well, I got bullied quite a lot because I was different.
Yeah.
And I cried a lot.
Yeah.
Because I was, a cry baby, and I just didn't know how to express my emotions. And then I would go from being sad to be very angry in the matter of seconds.
Yeah.
I think that's how I would like one day to, in the future, to actually, go to schools and say, listen, right, this is what it is. Sort of like